You've probably heard the stories. Maybe you've lived parts of them yourself, working hard all your life, paying off the mortgage, sending the kids off to college, collecting the gold watch or the heartfelt goodbye card on your last day, and walking into the sunset of retirement. That's the dream we were sold, right? Work for 40 years, and then you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Sleep in, travel, garden, spend time with grandkids, sip coffee on the porch as the sun rises over a quiet neighborhood. But for millions of Americans, that version of retirement is turning out to be more myth than reality. The truth is, you might think you know retirement, until life throws you a curveball you never saw coming. Let's talk numbers, because numbers tell stories too. In the United States, over 55 million people are over the age of 65. Of these, nearly half rely on Social Security for 90% or more of their income. That's not just a figure, that's a crisis. Imagine trying to pay for housing, utilities, food, medical bills, and the occasional visit with family or friends on around $1,800 a month. It's possible, yes. But comfortable? Not for most. And here's the hard part. Social Security was never designed to be a full retirement income. It was meant as a supplement, a safety net. But as pensions disappear and savings fall short, it has quietly become the primary source of income for millions. Take Jim, for example. He's 82nd Navy vet, worked construction his whole life, retired at 67 thinking he had just enough saved up to be okay. But then came a series of health issues, hospital bills, a leaky roof, inflation, groceries went up, electricity bills went up. Everything, except his fixed income, kept rising. Jim now works part-time at a local hardware store. He says he doesn't mind, but you can see the strain in his eyes when he talks about how tired he gets. It's not how I pictured my 80s, he says, and he's far from alone. Between 2022 and 2025, the number of people over 80 still in the workforce has jumped by over 25%. This isn't just about staying active. This is about survival. Retirement isn't just a financial stage of life. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's identity. For many people, leaving the workforce isn't just about leaving a job, it's about leaving purpose, structure, daily social interaction. For years you knew who you were. Now suddenly you're told to sit still, relax, and enjoy. But what if what you feel is loneliness, restlessness, anxiety? A recent study showed that retirees are at higher risk for depression, especially within the first 2 years after retirement. And it makes sense. Imagine waking up and having nowhere to go, no one to talk to, and nothing specific to accomplish. Now add money stress to that. Bills coming in, a car that needs repairs, prescription costs piling up. Suddenly, that golden age doesn't shine so bright. And here's the kicker. Many people did everything right. They followed the advice. They saved. They invested in 401ks. They paid off debt. But life has changed. The cost of living has skyrocketed. Healthcare costs, especially in retirement, have become unpredictable monsters. A study from Fidelity shows that the average retired couple may need over $315,000 just for healthcare costs in retirement. And let's not forget about housing. More than 30% of seniors are now cost-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing alone. Some are selling homes to downsize. Others are moving in with family. Some end up in RVs, traveling not for fun, but because it's the only affordable way to live. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is hard. But here's the power in telling the truth. It opens the door to change. You're not alone, and you're not powerless. In fact, acknowledging the gap between expectation and reality is the first step in reshaping what retirement can look like. Not as a slow fade, but as a new chapter with clarity, community, and courage. So here you are, maybe freshly retired or thinking about it, sitting with this uncomfortable truth that retirement isn't quite what you imagined. The numbers don't add up, your calendar is suddenly wide open, and you're left asking, what now? If you're feeling a little lost, you're not crazy. In fact, you're living proof that many of the popular retirement theories we were taught, neatly packaged in textbooks and financial planning brochures, don't hold up so well in real life. Let's start with the disengagement theory. It was developed back in the 1960s by social scientists who believed that aging meant a natural withdrawal from society. They suggested it was not only inevitable, but healthy. The idea was that as you grow older, you step back, society steps back, and everyone makes peace with it. But let's be honest. Does that sound like something you'd want? Is stepping away from people, purpose, and progress supposed to be a peaceful retreat? Or a lonely exile? If disengagement really worked, we wouldn't see seniors like 81-year-old Pamela Levier putting on her work uniform every morning, or Diane Naus clocking hours behind a desk at 82, not because they want to, but because they have to. Disengagement isn't a choice for them. It's a privilege they can't afford. And even when retirement isn't a financial struggle, disengagement feels unnatural. We're wired for connection, for contribution. You've built a life through careers, families, communities, and now suddenly you're expected to vanish into hobbies and reruns. That's not peace. That's displacement. Then there's the continuity theory, which paints a rosier picture. It argues that people carry their habits, behaviors, and personalities into retirement, keeping a sense of identity and routine. On the surface, that sounds comforting. If you were a teacher, you might tutor. If you were a leader, maybe you volunteer. It suggests that your essence remains intact even when your professional role fades. But what this theory doesn't address is what happens when circumstances force you to break from that continuity. What happens when your body doesn't cooperate anymore? When your spouse passes away? When your savings dry up faster than expected? Continuity assumes stability. Retirement in 2025 offers very little of that. And what about role theory? It suggests that our self-worth and identity are largely shaped by the roles we play: parent, worker, friend, spouse, citizen. When you retire, you give up one of your most central roles, your professional identity. For some, that's liberating. But for many, it's confusing and painful. You're no longer the doctor, the manager, the teacher. You might struggle to find what replaces that. And in a society that often sidelines the elderly, there aren't many new roles eagerly waiting for you to step into. If anything, the system expects you to step aside. That's why so many retirees talk about feeling invisible, not just economically, but socially, emotionally, culturally. Look, these theories weren't created to hurt anyone. They were frameworks. But frameworks built decades ago can't contain the complexity of retirement today. Retirement isn't just a timeline. It's not a math formula. It's not a finish line. It's an entirely new frontier, and most of us are entering it without a map. Take Carol, a 67-year-old grandmother who thought she'd finally have time to paint, travel, and maybe learn the piano. 2 years in, she's instead the full-time caregiver for her husband, who suffered a stroke. Her days are filled with medications, doctor visits, and waiting on hold with insurance companies. Her retirement role? Caregiver. That wasn't part of the brochure. Or Thomas, who worked for the same utility company for 42 years. Reliable job. Decent pension. When he retired, he said goodbye to his coworkers, took his retirement cake home, and tried to settle into the quiet life. But the quiet got too loud. He missed the routine. He missed feeling useful. Eventually, he started volunteering at a local food pantry, not because he was bored, but because he needed to feel like he still mattered. This is the part no one prepares you for. The emotional recalibration, the spiritual questions, the strange grief that comes with the loss of your old life, even when you're grateful for the new one. You start asking, who am I now? What am I supposed to do with this time? And that's where real resilience begins. Not in disengaging, not in pretending everything continues unchanged, but in the messy, sacred work of reinventing yourself, of redefining success and purpose outside the titles and paychecks. Retirement isn't a theory, it's a human experience. And like all human experiences, it comes with joy, sorrow, confusion, and growth. So if you feel out of step with the traditional models, maybe that's not your fault. Maybe the models are broken. And maybe what you need isn't an answer, but a new way to ask the question. So here we are, standing at the edge of a new kind of retirement. Not the kind our parents had, and not the kind the textbooks promised. Instead, it's something in between. Something more fluid, more uncertain, and perhaps surprisingly, more full of possibility. We're rewriting the rules in real time. And that's the big secret no one tells you. Retirement isn't just changing, it's being reimagined by people just like you every single day. Let's talk about what that looks like. For starters, the timeline has shifted. Decades ago, the standard retirement age was 65, and for good reason. That's when Social Security benefits kicked in. But in 2025, retirement age is more of a suggestion than a rule. Some are retiring at 55, others at 70, and many aren't retiring at all. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. And yes, many because they simply can't afford to. That's not necessarily a failure. It's a reflection of how life has changed. People are living longer, much longer. A 65-year-old today has about a 50% chance of living into their 90s. That's not just an extra few years. That's an extra chapter. An entirely new book, really. But here's the problem. While life expectancy has risen, the retirement systems we rely on haven't kept pace. Social Security was built in an era when people lived into their 70s. Now many will outlive their savings by a decade or more. Let's break this down with hard facts. The average retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 is around $426,000. That might sound like a decent nest egg until you start spending it. If you withdraw even a modest $25,000 a year, which is less than the average cost of basic living, that money runs out in under 17 years. And that doesn't factor in emergencies, rising healthcare costs, or inflation. Speaking of which, inflation over the last few years has quietly eaten away at purchasing power. A dollar saved 10 years ago simply doesn't stretch as far today. But it's not all bad news. Because here's where it gets interesting. People are adapting, reinventing, innovating, retiring differently. Take the FIRE movement. Financial independence. Retire early. A new generation of savers and planners are living ultra-frugally in their 20s and 30s, stockpiling investments, and retiring in their 40s. It's a radical idea, and while it doesn't apply to everyone, it's reshaping the conversation about what retirement could be. Then there's semi-retirement, a hybrid lifestyle where you reduce hours, switch careers, or consult part-time rather than quit entirely. It's not a fallback. It's a lifestyle choice. It allows people to stay engaged, keep income flowing, and transition more gently into full retirement. For some, that means teaching online, starting a blog, driving part-time, or even becoming a YouTube creator. Who says your retirement can't have a second act or a second paycheck? And let's not ignore the rise of the encore career. Many people, after decades in one profession, are using retirement as a launching pad to do something totally different. Something with meaning. Maybe it's working for a nonprofit, mentoring young people, or opening a small business. Sometimes it's about income. Often it's about impact. We're seeing more and more people redefine success not in terms of money, but in terms of fulfillment. Take Gloria, for example. She was a high school principal for 35 years. When she retired at 62, she spent a few months relaxing, finally taking that trip to Alaska she'd always dreamed of. But soon, she felt restless. So she started volunteering at a literacy center. One thing led to another, and now, at 68, she's the director. Not because she needs the paycheck, but because she found a new purpose. And purpose, it turns out, might be the most powerful retirement asset of all. Studies show that people who have a strong sense of purpose in retirement live longer, healthier, and happier lives. It's not just about filling time. It's about filling life with meaning. That could be gardening. It could be painting. It could be watching your grandchildren grow or helping your community thrive. Let's also talk about where we live. Housing is a huge piece of the retirement puzzle, and many are finding creative ways to live well on less. Some are moving to retirement-friendly states like Florida, Arizona, or Texas, where the cost of living is lower. Others are choosing co-housing options, living with friends, family, or other retirees to split expenses and enjoy community. And yes, some are hitting the road in RVs or tiny homes, choosing a minimalist lifestyle that prioritizes experiences over square footage. Technology is also playing a bigger role than ever. From telehealth to online banking, from smart homes to remote jobs, the digital world is offering more flexibility, safety, and opportunity for retirees. You don't have to be a tech expert, just curious. Every time you learn a new app, you're expanding your freedom. Every virtual yoga class, every Zoom birthday call, every online learning course is proof that aging doesn't mean slowing down. It means leveling up in new ways. So here's the takeaway. The rules have changed, and that's okay. You don't have to follow a one-size-fits-all path. You can write your own. You can combine passion with pragmatism. You can mix traditional wisdom with modern tools. Retirement isn't about the end of something. It's about the reimagining of everything. At the 60+ chapter, we believe in creating a life you love, mainly after 60+ age where not much people and supports are with you. Every story we share is meant to bring hope, knowledge, and tools that help you live better, not just longer. We are here for you, and we'll keep bringing you real stories, practical tips, and trusted advice every day. Don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to listen, or if it simply gave you hope, please take a moment right now to click subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to us. It helps us reach more people like you, and it keeps the 60+ chapter channel going strong. Let's grow this beautiful community together.